Welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes the most interesting insights, they pop up in places you really don't expect.
Absolutely. Not always from the usual sources.
Exactly. And today we're looking at this really unique coaching session. It's this fascinating mix of like intense game strategy poker, actually, and some surprisingly deep philosophical thinking.
Yeah, the sources we have really walk us through it. You get the whole picture from, personal reflection right through to hard data and making calls under pressure.
So our mission here is kind of figuring out how these ideas, stoicism on one hand and rigorous self-analysis on the other, can lead to mastery, not just in a game, but maybe in bigger life decisions too.
And what's really striking is how it kicks off. Even before the coach is there, the student is already setting this philosophical tone. He's deep into a book he wrote himself on Stoicism.
Oh, interesting. He wrote it himself.
Yeah, apparently available in French and English. So right away, this isn't just about which cards to play, it's about the mindset behind it.
That definitely sets a different kind of stage. And he brings in these film recommendations, The New World and, what was it? Jones Plantation.
Jones Plantation, yeah, by Andrew Crelia. And they're not light viewing,
Yeah.
themes of state propaganda, compliance. He even talks about it like breaking out of the matrix.
Okay, so how does that connect? How does watching films about, well, mental liberation set you up for a coaching session?
Well, it's about critical thinking, isn't it? Questioning the default settings, seeking truth, building that mental strength to resist, external noise or pressure. It's foundational for making clear decisions when the stakes are high.
Like building an internal framework?
Precisely. And he even has these soul reader glasses, like Kindle-style glasses.
Full reader glasses, what are those?
Sounds intense, right?
Hmm.
But it seems like a tool for constant self-reflection, almost like a digital journal he carries around. It's symbolic, I think, of that commitment to checking in with yourself, building that stoic resilience, being prepared, present.
Okay, so he's really priming his mind, philosophically speaking, grounding himself.
Exactly.
So how do they pivot from that, from the philosophy and the mindset, into the actual coaching? Because I know before they even crunch numbers, there's this more personal exchange.
Yeah, there is. It's quite casual, but meaningful. The student mentions he was just at his uncle's wedding.
Right.
And just being around family, it unexpectedly, lifted his spirits, made him feel better.
Why is that important to include? Starting with something so, well, human.
Because it highlights how our emotional state, our connections, they feed into everything else, even super analytical stuff.
Mm.
Performance isn't just about logic.
Mm.
They even touch on this surprising Stoic quote about marriage.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Something like, neither the young nor the old should marry. Too early for one, too late for the other. Kind of provocative.
Huh. Marriage advice from Stoics in a poker coaching context. You weren't kidding about unexpected wisdom.
Right. And then it leads to a bit about the uncle's views on family. Apparently, he believes in raising kids more communally, not the standard nuclear family model.
Okay, so that adds another layer. It really grounds the whole thing in, like real life, real people, different worldviews, before they get into the weeds of strategy.
Exactly. It shows the whole person matters. Mindset, emotions, connections, then the strategy. It's a holistic approach.
Which makes sense. It sets the stage perfectly for then diving into the cold, hard data. It shows how those two sides, the philosophical and the analytical, actually work together.
Precisely. And that's where they go next. Straight into a statistical review, looking at his win rate.
Okay, so comparing performance over time.
Yeah, like the last 3 months versus earlier in the year. They're using standard poker metrics, big blinds, 1 per 100 hands. That's BB 100. It's a core profitability measure.
How much you're winning on average.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, all-in adjusted win rate. That one tries to smooth out the luck factor when all the chips go in. It gives you a better sense of your expected value, your EV, long-term.
And what did they find? Was there improvement?
Oh, yeah. Clear improvement. The win rate had pretty much doubled compared to the previous period. So decisions were getting better. The expected value was trending up significantly.
That's huge. Tangible proof of progress. But looking at data like that, surely there are pitfalls. How do you interpret it correctly? I know they use tools like Poker Tracker for this.
Absolutely. Poker Tracker is key. It lets you slice and dice the data, filter by dates, see all these stats. But the big challenge, and this is where the coaching comes in, is not overreacting to short-term swings.
The emotional side again. Seeing a loss streak and thinking your strategy is broken.
Exactly. You need that stoic detachment again. Focus on the long-term EV, not the immediate result, which leads them into a specific hand analysis.
Okay, let's get into it. What was the scenario?
So the student's got a short stack, maybe 5 big blinds left. He's in the big blind, holding second pair of 5. An opponent makes a small bet. The big question is, should he fold or shove all in?
Okay, second pair, 5 big blinds. Feels kind of marginal. What's the thinking?
Well, the coach lays out the risk reward. Folding seems safe, but you might be giving up a crucial chance to double up and get back in the game. Shoving, even with just second pair, has upsides.
Like what? Forcing the opponent to fold?
Yeah, what's called fold equity. The opponent might fold a better hand, or they might even call with a worse hand sometimes. And if this opponent limps in a lot pre-flop, their range of possible hands is wider, which actually makes shoving potentially better.
So it depends a lot on the opponent.
Hugely. Their playing style tight, loose, and also other players at the table matter because of ICM.
ICM, right, the independent chip model. How chip value changes in tournaments.
Exactly. With only 5 big blinds left, every chip counts towards your tournament equity. It's a high leverage spot. So the decision isn't just simple math, it's complex.
And the takeaway connects back to Stoicism.
Definitely. It's about making the best possible decision with limited information, embracing the uncertainty. You control the decision to shove or fold, not whether you win the hand. That's peak Stoicism right there, maximizing your fold equity, accepting the outcome.
And this leads to a really powerful point the coach makes, right? Something about even the best plays having downsides.
Yes, exactly that. In poker, even the best play has downsides. That's a quote that sticks with you.
It feels like it applies way beyond poker.
Totally. It's a life lesson, really. The coach emphasizes thinking through the pros and cons, even of what seems like the optimal move. No decision is risk-free.
But knowing the trade-offs makes you stronger.
Yeah, more resilient. It ties right back into that Stoic prep we talked about earlier. Embrace the uncertainty, be detached from the specific result, accept that things aren't always perfect.
So wrapping this all up, this deep dive really showed this incredible fusion. You've got the hard logic, the data, the strategy.
Yep, the poker tracker stats, the BB100, the all-in adjusted rates.
And then woven through it all is this enduring philosophical wisdom. Stoicism showing up everywhere.
And those specific examples, like the second pair shove with a short stack, counterintuitive but potentially right in context, and that big takeaway. Even the best plays have downsides. Understanding trade-offs is key.
And like we said, this isn't just for poker players tuning in.
Not at all. Think about how these principles, objective measurement, understanding risk and reward, making calls under pressure, even embracing imperfection, how they apply to challenges in your work or your personal life.
That Stoic view on adversity, uncertainty, expectation, it seems like it could genuinely improve how you handle things.
It really can. It changes your perspective on outcomes.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Knowing that even the right decision has potential downsides and that real strength comes from accepting imperfection. How might that change the way you approach your next big all-in moment?
Whether that's a career move, a personal commitment, some new challenge, how do you approach it differently, armed with both data, maybe, and that Stoic mindset?
Something to chew on. Until next time on The Deep Dive.
Welcome. I'm waiting for my poker coach. He should be here in a couple of minutes. And before that, I want to show you 3 things. So first, I'm going to show you the first link. This is the first thing I want to show you. It's my book written in French, but I also have translated it into English, as you can see. So if you want my book, just scan the QR code and you have the link directly, but it's also in the description. And today, maybe I'm gonna talk about this New World. It's a movie made by somebody I appreciate. And the guy is called Andrew Treglia. And he is also the author of The Jones Plantation. Now, The Jones Plantation is better as a movie. But this one is free and on YouTube. Jones Plantation, I think you find it on Amazon Prime and also on Netflix, I think. But you have to check. Anyways, you have to see both of them. And the New World is also interesting. It's around the same subject. It's about the state and its propaganda and how it brainwashes people into complying with it. And it's about the system you live in. And it's a way to break out of the matrix. So I think it's very interesting and you should take a look at it. And here again, my I give you once again the link for my book. So this is my Stoic book. As you know, I read it several times a day, and I think it's an awesome book, and you should read it. Also, as you know, I did put my book on my Soul Reader glasses because they're really nice. They're like Kindle glasses. You can check them out online. And it's great for reading because I only have to put it in and the book resumes where I left it.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing quite good today. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You want to say something?
Well, so I guess I wanted to share that I've been in a pretty good mood the past few days.
A friend.
No, wedding of my uncle, so there was a lot of relatives there, and somehow seeing so many relatives all at once, and also meeting some new people there, and it's very positive atmosphere, right? Everyone's celebrating, happy. I don't know, it was like very strong impact from me, I would say. I wouldn't have thought, right? I was more thinking I have to go there. It's probably not going to be so great and so on. Just my usual way of thinking, always expecting the worst. I'm thinking, well, how I didn't have much of an expectation, but it was very nice.
How old is your uncle?
I think over 50, maybe nearing 60, yes.
So he's not the youngest to get married.
Yes, they've been together with his wife now for, I think, 20 years at least. But finally, they got married.
He doesn't believe what Diogenes said. Did you read that passage? No? Still not?
Maybe not yet. What's the passage about?
Okay. He wasn't a big fan about.
I think I found the page for it by accident. In here it says Diogenes cultivated self-sufficiency and resilience, reducing his needs to a minimum, facing adversity with sovereign indifference, and liberating himself from social conventions as vain as they were arrogant.
Yeah, I think it says in that passage when they ask him about if a young man should get married or an old man, and he tries to answer no in one way or another.
Oh, maybe I read that passage now that you give the context of it. What did he say? Why? Do you remember why a young man shouldn't and an old man shouldn't either?
Yeah, I don't have the quote exactly, but it was something for a young man it's too early, and for an old one it's too late.
That's good. Then my uncle is middle-aged.
Yeah, great. But he wasn't a big fan of it. He didn't believe. I think he was really open-minded for his age. So he thought you could just stay with the girl for the time you want, have some kids, and to him, they should be taken care with an extended family. So the city or the small group they live in, and they should all be kids of that group. But he was very open-minded that regard. He didn't believe in strict matrimonial links, which is quite interesting. And I wanted to ask you, did you see the Barnum World, the documentary I recommended you, or haven't you had time to look at it?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, then we talk another time about it once you have watched it.
Yeah,
Today,
I can watch it. I think I can watch it this week.
yeah, no hurry. Whenever you feel like it and you want to take a look at it. It's from the same director than Jones Plantation. I checked that fact. He's called something like Andrew, or I can't pronounce his name correctly, but he's the same author. How do you want to proceed today? Do you have something special planned, or do we just look at the couple of hands I have marked?
Yeah, a little bit special. I guess not too much special for this week, because last time we did a lot of time with statistics and so on, and I got my ideas from it. The most meaningful for me was to look at your deeper stacked hands with more focus and also multi-way pots. But today I thought quickly to look at your win rate for different time periods. So last time we saw overall that you had a positive win rate, but it would be interesting to see how is your win rate, let's say last 3 months and first 3 months of the year or last year, and see if there's any improvement in that regard, or it's more or less consistent. So for that, you'd have to share your poker tracker main page, and then we go to reports. Your results have been better, although your average finish is in the middle 4th place, which in an 8-player tournament, well, would be nice if it was a little higher than right in the middle. But overall, your win rate is better here than your overall. So it does look like your results have been, I'm looking at the big blinds per 100. So you won for 100 hands almost 10 big blind. And a 4.23 is the same thing with luck taken out of equation, but it's still good numbers. Could you click on date again and choose last year?
So this is for 100, 9.68. And the other with luck out of the equation, what is that? This one?
Yes, exactly. So this should be a more honest description of your results or skill, because it doesn't take into, like, if you have aces and you're an 80% favorite, then it counts this one as if you won 80% of the pot. And whether you actually won the hand or lost, it doesn't take into account there, only what percent you had when you went all in. So yes, good. Now maybe let's see your results from last year as well. So click on before date. Yes. Click on between dates and change it to before, and then maybe choose 1st of January this year. Yeah, and both of these numbers are lower. Actually, are all in adjusted big blind per 100 it was 4.23 last year, and before it was 2.31, at least based on your results so far from March onwards or April onwards that we look. Your win rate is actually almost double as good as it was from last year to the beginning of your playing. Maybe you could also try to see before the 1st of January 2024. So even going longer back and changing that to 2024.
Yeah. Can I? Yeah, I can. Okay.
And yeah, not too many hands here. So maybe change the month and change it to July. Well, so that's all for something special I wanted to look at today. And for me, I think for you as well, it's good news to see that there has been improvement if we look at your win rate over the years. That looks like your skill compared to your opponents, that gap has been growing.
Yeah, nice. Then it's just a question of time until I get to level 2.
Yes, unless there will be how do we stagnation in your improvement. But let's do our best to try to avoid that.
Okay, we done with it?
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to mention I have a little idea for today's hand review, which in addition to what we usually would do, I'd like to think about something like
I did interrupt you. You said I have something special for this hand review and you wanted to tell me something about it.
Yes, it was to think about pros and cons of each play. So in poker, we try to do the best play we think we can, but still with every play, there's some downsides to this play also. Even if you do your best move, there's also always, there's no scenario almost where there's nothing that can go wrong or badly. So I wanted today to take some time to think about just to be mindful towards what's the negative aspect of that play and see if it's helpful.
Okay. So I'm on the small blind.
Big blind, yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was on a small blind. Yeah, I'm on the big blind and have one limp. And now I made a 5, but it's not top pair. So I just check. He goes for a very little bet, but only 5.17 big blinds left. And I don't want to risk it. So I fold.
Yes, this is quite a tricky scenario. Do you have any clue of if player 2 was limping a lot or not?
Like this, I would say maybe he was limping a lot, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
I would have to look at the entire tournament to tell you that.
So if someone's limping quite a lot, do they usually have a better hand than you do in this scenario?
Well, my hand is very crappy. How can you have worse than that?
Well, you have a second pair here, right?
Okay. Second pair, yeah. So you want to know if he was tight enough to play with kings, jacks, and so on? Boardwalk cards, I think you call them.
Well, usually people would, right? They would maybe play even 10-9 or play hands like ace-7, queen-10. Actually, standard here would be to go all in and take the risk here, even though sometimes he has a king and then most likely he'll be out of the tournament, or he could have pocket 7s or pocket 8. There is quite a lot of risk here, but also the reward is quite large, right? The reward is as much chips as you have right now, and there's chances for him to fold if he has nothing. And there's also chances he might call and have something weaker. He might call you with ace 10 here. He might call you with pocket threes. And over the long run, you should have the best hand here more often than not. So I would go with this hand.
Okay, but normally you don't want me to be that aggressive with second pair, and especially a 5, which is quite a low pair. So you only do that because I only have 5.17 left. And you think I have to risk it because, yeah, I might have the best hand. And if he doesn't have a king, it could be all right. So you want me to gamble. I understand.
Exactly. So if you had something like 40 big blind, for an example, the standard move would be to do what here?
Just call. No, yeah, 40 big blinds. If I have 40 big blinds.
It would be to call, hope that he stops betting. Maybe your hand improves, but but you certainly wouldn't want to go all in and risk all your chips for this small pot then. But as it is now, it's a chance to double. So the question is, are we a favorite here or are we close to that then? And even though he might have a better hand, it's not a lot on this board. Really, the only scary thing for us is the king. And could he have that king? Absolutely, but he could. The main thinking I have here is he could have many other things that are not a king, like some ace. Well, you're better than some ace. If it's ace queen, ace jack, ace 4, ace 7, all these hands you're better than. If he has something like queen jack, queen 10, again, your hand would be better. So for that reason, I would risk it because I think that trying to win these chips are valuable here. If there wasn't player 7, the discussion would be it would be different, right? If we imagine player 7 disappears, then it would be, why risk it? Player 1 is in 4th place. You just try to stay alive and wait until player 1 goes out and not risk it with a 5. But because there is player 7 and we have 5 big blinds and we most likely need to make a move to get to top 3. So we need to find the best moment for our move. And I would say this, without knowing anything else about player 2, seems to me like a good enough moment for us to make our move. If I knew player 2 was very tight, then I wouldn't make this move. If this was very rare that he limps, then I would be thinking maybe he has aces. He was limping because he's being tricky, because usually he never limps. But I don't know these specific things. And in general, if someone limps, that's not very strong. So to me, him limping doesn't look like he has pocket 10s or 7s or even a very strong king. So what can he have? Also a crappy hand or maybe a weak king. So usually it's not very strong if someone limps. So that's why I'm thinking that it's not very likely that he has something better. Now it could be this time he had king 4 and his hand is stronger. But I think most likely he has something like ace 7.
Okay, thank you. So I made a queen on the flop. He checks. I think it's 3/4 because I was a little scared about the flush, and he calls.
Okay, so to go with the topic, what's the benefits and downsides of betting here?
Well, I have to win the pot. So if he folds, that could be quite nice. Also, I want the pot to grow since I have top pair, which is also good. Now, what is not so good is if he has 2 spades, then it wouldn't be that nice because then he's closer to a flush than I am.
Is it likely he has 2 spades?
How can I answer that question? How do I know if it's likely?
Yeah,
I don't think he would be more aggressive with 2 spades. He still doesn't have a made hand, so only call 3.5 would make sense. I don't think he should me with 2 spades.
What I mean is, would he play spades more than diamonds or hearts or clubs?
No.
So there's 4 types of suited hands. Only one of them is spades. So just in thinking along these lines, is it more likely he has 2 spades or more likely that he has 2 hearts, 2 diamonds, or 2 clubs?
I have 1 spade, so it is less likely that he has 1 spade.
But even if we didn't see your cards, is it more likely he has 2 spades or is it more likely he has 1 of hearts, diamonds, or clubs?
Well, it's more like that he has another card because there are already two spades on the board. And with me,
Okay,
it's a third spade. But you said you don't want me to look at my card.
yeah, let me even go one step backward with my question. Even if we haven't seen the flop and we haven't seen your cards, and we only know that he calls your raise, and that's all we know. Only know he called your raise. We don't know the board. We don't know anything else. Is it more likely for him to have spades or more likely that he has one of hearts, clubs, or diamonds?
It's more likely that he has one of the other cards because there are three cards and we are now focusing on one card. So he has three chances out of four to have something else. No, I'm not mathematically, it's wrong what I tell you, but still the idea is correct.
No, you said it quite well. Yes, it's 3 times more likely that if he has a suited hand, it would be something else than spades. Now, once you see spades on the board, does that make it even more likely he had something else or less likely?
More likely.
Makes it even more likely that he might have had, for example, clubs, the green cards, which we don't see any here. Right? You're not holding any clubs, no clubs on the board, or that he has hearts, which we see only one card, or diamonds, which we also see only one card. Secondary question, are there more ways someone to have an off-suited hand or suited hand? Which hands you get dealt more of? Off-suited or
suited?
Okay, if someone has off-suited hand, how many spades can they have maximum?
Just one.
The same way like you have one spade here, right?
Yeah, and then my spade is better, so I could make a better flush.
Yes, that's also true because you have quite a high one spade. But even if their spade was higher, let's say they had the ace of spades, they would still need a spade on the turn and spade on the river. And this happens roughly 1 in 30 times that you get spade on the turn and spade on the river. So even that wouldn't be very dangerous. So it's good you're being mindful of that. But when you start to bet here, there isn't anything that's happened so far that should make us too concerned about the spade. I like that you bet here, and I think it's mostly good for you, whatever he does, right? If he folds, you win without any further risk. And if he does not fold, then it's a good chance he has something weaker. He might have a queen, and your hand's stronger than most queens. He could have a 10, he could have a 7, a straight draw, and 2 spades as well, like you said. But yeah, overall, I think it's good for you. And now, if we had to find the downside, what's the downside of betting here?
Well, that we are beat, that he has queen 10.
Yes, that could be. It's also that we're making the pot bigger. And maybe bad cards will come, like a king came this time, or some other bad card you won't want to see, like another 10 or a jack maybe, and then would be a big pot. But I wouldn't really worry about it at this point. In this tournament, looks like you're in 5th place and you have a good hand, so I think it's a good risk you took here, and I don't see too strong downsides here. Now, after he calls, things change a little bit. So now after he calls, let's say he had something like ace 5. Would you think ace 5 would call your bet here?
No.
But would ace 5 call your bet if it was 2 spades?
Yes.
So before we bet, we shouldn't really worry about spades too much. But after someone continues, it is now one of the things that they wouldn't fold. Right? So they would fold if they had hearts, if they had diamonds, if they had clubs, but spades, they wouldn't fold. So now we have to be, in some sense, cautious about the spades, but it's still only part of what he could have. He could still have a 10, he could have a queen, he could even have a 7. So it's still not a big worry. I just wanted to highlight how before you bet, you really shouldn't worry as much about spades. But once they continue versus your bet, now their hands that they would play and wouldn't fold shift more towards having spades than having something like clubs, for example.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you, Noan. Also, how about he being a sneaky player and having 2 aces? Do you think that's probable or not probable?
Well, firstly, you already have an ace, which makes it less likely. Second, the chances of getting dealt aces is around 1 in 200, even a little less. I think 1 in 220 or something like that. So that is to your benefit, that he's way more likely to have king 10, jack 10, queen 9, pocket 8s, ace 7. All these hands are something like 100 times more likely than for him to have aces.
Yeah. It just, we have to be a little concerned because he called.
Well, it's better than for him to raise, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
you're true. You're actually, that's a very good point that you bring out. And I would add to that the more bets someone calls, each call our concern should increase. So he called once, I wouldn't be too worried. But if he calls again on the turn and then you get to the river, then you would be even more concerned. And it also depends how big you bet, how concerned you should be. So when would you be more worried about his call? If you bet pot sized on the flop or if you just bet one chip?
I must be more concerned if the bet is bigger. So if I make pot size bet and he calls, I must be much more concerned than if I just bet one big blind.
Yes, exactly, because the larger you bet, the more he will fold and the stronger hands he will continue with. Now, for you on this board, I would say you chose a larger bet size than what you usually would do, right?
Yeah, I did.
Now, that is not I think it's not an issue because you have a good hand, but there are some downsides to it, which is that maybe a 7 wouldn't call you on the flop anymore. Maybe for a 7, this is too big. So one mistake people often do is they bet big because they want to protect their hand from a flush draw. But the real key detail about it is, even if you bet big, what will a flush draw do?
He would still call.
Exactly. So there is no way for you to protect if he has a flush draw. If he does, lucky for them, they had 2 spades, and it's no way for you to get them out of the pot. But what does happen if you bet bigger? You might be pushing hands out, which you wouldn't be worried about at all. Let's say he has something like 7-6. Does 7-6 pose much danger to your hand?
No.
If 7-6 folds or calls, obviously it's easier if they fold, right? I see that aspect of make a big bet, they fold hands over and it's easy. But often it's easy only with the hands that wasn't a worry for your hand anyway, right? Because if they don't fold, the hands that won't fold are the trouble hands and they won't fold to a big bet either. So you could make a case that actually you could have bet smaller on this flop because the way you're betting is very quickly moving towards all in, right? But if they fold, we get an easy solution, but we don't really need an easy solution if we already have a strong hand and actually I would like a weaker hand to come along. Maybe has something like ace-9 with 1 spade. If you bet very small, ace-9 might think, well, I can hit an ace, I have 1 spade, I will come along for this one small bet. That's great. You have ace-queen, ace-9 doesn't concern you at all. So to summarize where I want go with this is often the bigger bet is with a hand that wants to finish the pot quickly. And if you have a high top pair like a queen, and you also have an ace to come along with it, actually that's not a hand that needs to finish the pot very quickly.
Yeah, I understand that, Norman. Thank you. Okay, now we have a king. So that's not so good for us. And yeah, let's see what he does. He goes for half pot. And yeah, should I call or should I fold?
Yes, I would say this is a difficult situation now. I would start by this. How surprising is it to you that he now starts betting?
Well, he likes the king and he wants to show me more aggression. He didn't when I went for 2/3 of a pot. Yeah, of the pot. He didn't 3-bet me. But now he really, really wants to get more money in. So it is quite surprising.
Does it look like 7 to you that it would do a move like this?
Nope.
Exactly. So even a queen, if it's a weaker queen, wouldn't queen also want to play a smaller pot than not bet?
I think he should be worried. Yeah, he should check with a queen, especially
Yes.
because then he has queen king, and then he's extremely high. But with a lower queen, I think he should be a little prudent. So especially because there came a king. So yeah, no, I don't see him showing so much aggression with a queen.
Exactly. And also there's straights possible, right? He could have something like Jack 9, Ace Jack. So he could have a king, or he could have a straight, or he could have the hand you said, Queen 10 or aces that he was tricky with and now wants to bet with. Anyhow, this bet seems very committal for you, right? If you call this, you're calling most of your remaining chips,
Yeah.
right? Would it make sense for us to do that if it looks like we're up against a stronger hand
No.
rate and time?
I think we should fold.
And are there many cards on the river for to look for to improve your hand?
No, only an ace
Actually, also a jack
and a jack, yeah.
and the queen possibly.
Yeah, so we have a lot of outs, so maybe we should call because of that.
I think we have something like 10 outs, so that would mean we only improve 20%, 1 in 5 times.
And half bet is 25.
Yes,
Half pot.
exactly. So, and that would mean if all those times, if you have to fold the river, you would have only 4 big blinds left, 4 times out of 5. What would be more comfortable, to continue with this 11 big blinds and give this hand up, or to go with this hand?
I think we should not risk it and we should fold.
Yes, I agree with you.
So why did I not? I don't know.
I have some reasons that come to mind. One is it's already a big pot. So how usually human psychology works, maybe you've also noticed with your opponents that when the pot gets very big, they don't really like folding anymore because there seems to be such a big reward in the middle. And I think the mind just wants to be hopeful and not believe in these scenarios, because if you are right, you will get such a large reward for it. And it's not very comfortable to have 11 big blinds. But if you win this pot somehow, you would have 30 big blinds. So I think that's where the reasoning comes to continue. But I think it would be based a lot on hope and loss aversion, maybe is the phrase, that it's one of the toughest things in poker to change your mind. I will send you this. I've actually put together like the 2 most common beginner mistakes I've noticed, and one is changing the mind. So on the flop, both of us really liked your hand. Queen 10-7, you have ace queen, and now you go other than a spade. It's king is the worst card on the turn, right? Ace would have been good for you. Any low card would have been good for you. There really weren't too many bad turn cards, but king certainly was one of them. But it's still difficult to change your mind. You're not going to do a mistake like that, but very bad players, new players, even make a mistake like this, that they have pocket jacks, pocket queens. They really like their hand. Flop has both ace and a king, and they still can't fold their pocket jacks. They still cannot readjust or change their mind. So this is similar thing, I think, just on a smaller scale. I mean, obviously, I think you would be able to fold jacks if there's both ace and a king on the board, but I think it's like a similar mental process behind it.
Yeah, I agree with all what you said. But also, maybe I didn't want to continue to find with only 10 big blinds, because then I'm last and a lot of people have, and everybody has above 20 big blinds. And it puts me in a very hard situation to continue. So I thought, yeah, he could be bluffing. And if not, it's very hard to make it with only 10 big blinds left.
Exactly. The only thing I would say with this, which would you choose? To still be in the fight? And I won't even give you 10 big blinds. I'll just say, would you rather be in the fight with 3 big blinds, or would you be out of the fight?
It is better to be in the fight.
Exactly. So even though it's difficult, it's an uphill climb, it's a battle, you would be, everything you said is true. You would be clearly 5th place, but the key thing is you would still be in there with a chance. I think you agree that in these tournaments, 10 big blinds, you can see at least 10 more hands, at least 10 more hands. So you would still have some opportunity to get a good hand, to maybe someone limps your big blind, you see a free flop. The chances would be against you. I agree. Most likely you wouldn't make top 3 if you fold to. I believe in that it's difficult to make top 3 with 10 big blinds. But even if it happens 1 out of 5 times, it still makes a difference over the long run if you try to fight until the last breath.
Yeah, I agree with you, Norman. And I'm thinking about boxing, and maybe poker is not exactly the same. Because when I look at somebody like Dakota fighting her adversaries, well, you see at the moment that she gets more kicks in and she hurts the other person more. And the other person starts showing signs of weaknesses. And then it's hard for the other person to make it back because Dakota didn't get any bad blows. And it looks like the other person is weaker now because of the blows she got. And Dakota will just take advantage of that and the other one cannot make it back. But poker is not the same. Because poker are random hands, and the next hand could be pocket aces, and I could just double, you know? So even if I did get a hard blow now, it doesn't mean that that there's no chance left. But for somebody who loses a lot of his strength and mental capability because he did get hit too hard, it is really, really hard to make it back. But in poker, hands are random, and every hand is separate from the tournament. So it's a little different. Do you get a little what I mean with that or not?
Yes, I agree. Yes, I think it's a good comparison. Yes, I like it.
Thank you, Norman. Now he goes all in, and I'm committed, so I call, and he has queen 10. You see? So he was just sneaky. He didn't have the king he I thought he had, but he was sneaky. Why was he sneaky? Because, well, let's see. He called a big bet, but he didn't 3-bet me. Here, if he would have 3-betted me, I think I would have folded. Yeah, would I have folded? It's hard to fold top pair, but it would have been very strange to me, and I would have been more scared. Now half pot, I thought maybe it's nothing. Wishful thinking.
And exactly what you said is why I think he didn't 3-bet you. Because that would look too strong, right? He didn't want to scare you with the 3-bet.
Yeah, okay. I still think it was an interesting hand. Thank you, Norman. Queen, king offsuit. I'm on the cutoff. So I fold, but I actually wanted to limp. What do you think about my fold?
Yeah, I don't like the fold here. You have a lot of big blinds, and this is the stage of the tournament where you can get involved with hands. You can be involved in pots, and king queen is a good hand to be involved in pots with. Now, I understand you didn't want to make it 5 big blinds and make it a very big, but you have other options, right? So what are the other options here? You could also limp, or you could make a small raise. You could also raise for something like 3 big blinds. The point of a small raise is limpers won't ever fold to a small raise, but a small raise will make big blind and small blind fold. So I would have liked either of those 2 options for you to raise small, to try to make the small blind and big blind fold, and then most likely you would see the flop with 2 opponents. Or if you want to be extremely careful, just call. It's 1 big blind, then you have 70 of those, and see what happens. If someone else raises small, you can even call that if someone else makes 3-4 big blinds. But I think folding was too cautious in the stage of a tournament where you can afford to make a risk for 1 big blind here.
Yeah, I understand that, and I agree with that train of thought. But the reason why I did it is because I looked at under the gun chart, and king queen offsuit is my lowest hand. So since I have an under the gun who limped, I thought he could have something better. And then I have another player who's also limping, so I thought, yeah, they both could it's a good chance they both have an ace. And yeah, anyways, if I compare it to, I have to compare since I'm facing under the gun, I have to look at the under the gun chart. And then it's not so great, king, queen, offsuit. And now I'm not facing 1 opponent, but 2. And if I limp, I will have 3 opponents. And I still have a card. That's the lowest card with whom I should do that. So because of that, I thought, do I really want to face 3 people with having the lowest card compared to them, and I didn't want to.
In your chart, under the gun, king queen is the lowest hand, and it makes sense then to fold that when someone's raising. In your experience so far, the people who limp under the gun, do they limp weaker hands than king queen or not?
Yeah, normally.
So if we think very deeply about theory, it could make sense to fold, but practically speaking, people who limp often limp way too many hands they shouldn't. And I think king queen is a stronger hand than an average hand people.
So you want me to go for either 1 big blind or 2.5 big blind? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think both are good options.
Okay.
Now, just very quickly on the topic of pros and cons, we see one limper had Jack 7 and the big blind actually had ace king. So yes, in hindsight, this wouldn't have been your flop, the 7-7-8. But what did I want to say? And what are the benefits of you folding? What do you see as the benefit of that play?
It's just saving 1 big blind.
Okay. And what are the downsides of
That I could make a huge pot.
Yes, if the board favors you, let's say you lose 1 big blind 15 times. Would it be realistic that 16th time the board would favor you and you would get something very good with king queen?
I think I would have won this with king queen because here I would have gone half pot. And if I go half pot, ace king would call and he would still win. Yeah. So no, I wouldn't have won it.
This big scenario, right? One thing I would put to your heart is I don't think you should go half pot if there's so many opponents in the
Okay, yeah. Then I should have gone for more. Maybe
not for anything.
you want me just to check here?
Poker is a good hand if you have 1 opponent, maybe 2. If you have 4 opponents, you have to start to be more worried about someone having a 7 and things like that.
So you don't want me to make a bet at all?
No, in this case, once they check you twice, yes, I think you can bet half pot on turn. And this time you would have lost that as player 5 had Jack 7, right? They were being very sneaky. But what I was trying to say is general sentiment that you want to be betting way less often if you have more opponents and trying to be more cautious with even top pair.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Well, if you had raised to 2.5 or 3 big blinds, possibly player 5 would have folded their Jack 7. But yeah, I just wanted to say again that thought of you can lose that 1 big blind to enter a pot many times and it won't hurt you. But I think you have a very good chance to win a very nice big pot if your king queen makes a straight 2 pairs or something good.
Yeah, you're correct, Norman. Thank you. Jack 5 suited. I'm on the small blind. So I decide to call, and I don't think I should have done this, actually. Yeah.
Fold to hand, yes.
Okay. And then he goes for 3 and I fold. Okay. So thank you.
If you had limped, I think you can put half a big blind in with your hand. But he raised actually. He actually raised under the gun. And to put 1.5 big blinds with Jack 5 suited, I would give this some.
Yeah. That was a mistake. Thank you. Okay. Those were all my hands, Norman.
If you compare this hand to the king queen hand, how much was asked of you with king queen to enter the pot?
Only 1.
And in this case, it was how much?
It was 1.5.
In the king queen hand, under the gun raised or limped?
He limped.
And in this case, they raised, right? So there's multiple reasons why this hand is in a more difficult situation than the king queen hand.
Yeah, I understand. It's just I think you told me a couple of times that I don't defend my small blinds and big blinds enough. And here, since I had a suited hand, I thought maybe I have to see a flop. But as soon as I saw the hand in review, I realized that I should have folded.
Yeah, so I would like you to defend more when people limp, right? To your small blind, if people limp, to also limp. I'd want you to defend your small blind more if you have a lot of chips. So first levels, if you have 70 and so on, and it's not looking very dangerous and you have a lot of chips. And I would like you to defend your small blind with hands that you think you can make something good with. So Jack 5, even though it's suited hand, a 5 won't be very good, and if you make a Jack, it will be a weak Jack. So I'd rather you defend something like 8-7 suited, which can make straights as well. And the cards are more connected than with Jack 5. Now, big blind is a little better to defend than small blind. For one, you've already invested half a big blind more in the big blind, so you get a bigger discount. Secondly, if you're big blind, you know everything that's happened before. So what I mean here is, if you call the small blind, you don't know what the big blind will do next, right? The big blind could call, they could fold, but they could also raise. So for that reason, it's much tougher to defend the small blind because you don't even know how many opponents you will have. Sometimes big blind raises, you won't even see the flop then. And last detail I would add, look at who you're defending against. So if the dealer button raises for someone in a later position, they have wider ranges, weaker hands, and you can defend a little wider against that also. I don't mind if you call their limp. Limpers usually don't have tight ranges, even if they're under the gun. But if someone raises under the gun, then I would believe that they have a tighter range, and I would also defend tighter against under the gun's raise than a raise from the dealer button, for example.
Okay, I get it, Norman. Thank you.
Yes. And very quick question. If you look at your Jack 5 suited, is that hand in any of your ranges? Is it in your dealer button range, for example?
Jack 5 suited, it is in my range. If everybody would have folded to me, yes, I would have played that hand.
If you get dealt bad on the dealer button, would you play it?
Yes.
In the cutoff?
No.
Okay, but would you play 7-8 suited in the cutoff?
Yes, I would.
Would you play something like King 10 in the cutoff?
King 10 offsuit, huh? You're talking about. Yes, I would. Yeah, Norman, I would.
Would you play pocket 3s in the cutoff?
Yes, I would.
So what I'm trying to point out is Jack 5 suited. Yeah, it's tough to find that balance, right? That's what you're trying to learn. I'm just saying, if I wanted to defend wider, it still has some limits to it, right? And I would say Jack 5 suited is usually outside of that limit unless they limp. Then I would call half a big blind with you. But against the raise, I think it's not as strong enough.
Okay, I get it, Norman. I get it.
Good.
Anything else for today, or do we stop here?
Yeah, I think we're done with our part of today's lesson. But what else has been on your mind? What have you been up to?
Well, I can give you a little one or two anecdotes, but let's talk about the more serious stuff, because the other stuff is more trivial stuff, and I don't think it's very interesting, but I could say it since I waste time, and it wouldn't take that long. But the thing is, I have my YouTube channel. And I like the videos I make. However, I would like it if I could monetize my channel one day and maybe make a couple of bucks with it. And I seem to get closer to that moment, but it still will take me nearly up to the end of the year until I have enough views if my content channel keeps growing at the same space as it did right now, and also if people keep watching the same quantity. So it's just for me, because for me it's an immense amount of work. Because some people, they only put on 10, 20 or 50 videos, and then one of them gets viral. Everybody watches it, and he has like 50K views on it, and he straight makes money and he's straight monetized. Now, I've made 2.6K videos now, I think, or 2.5K videos. So that's a lot, and still I have to struggle until the end of the year to hope that I get monetized. And then, it all depends. But if I'm not very popular, which is the case, it's better to be monetized than not. I have something like 960 subscribers. So that's not nothing. It's not zero. A lot of people never reach those kind of numbers. But also the amount of work, 2.5K videos or 2.6K videos, that's just huge, So for me, when I do stuff, I'm always working the hardest path, I never get it easy. Other people do something stupid and they get very, 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 very popular, and it's done, they're monetized and they start making very nice money. And people keep watching them because they just like it. And I do stuff that is more intellectual. That, what I enjoy about my channel is I take complex idea and I make them easier to understand. It's a way of summarizing complex subject and extracting the most important points out of them. And sometimes I do also new research. So, for example, stuff with Elon Musk and his results with Doge. Well, I had to make the research for that and I had to come up with it. So, but the idea is just, I always have to work the hardest path. It is never easy for me. Fortune never makes it easy. Because out of 2.6K videos, there easily could be 5 or 10 that, or at least one that gets viral. You know, if you try more stuff, then the chance of hitting a viral video, a video that gets liked a lot and push up in the algorithms should be easier to get than if you have just 20 videos on your channel or 50 videos on your channel. But I always have to work the hardest path. And it's the same with poker. Do I say I'm struggling? Yeah. The thing is also with poker, the mistake is that I just don't play enough. If I would play a lot more, then I would see faster the results. But since I don't play 8 hours a day, it takes a very, very long time. Anyways, I should not be complaining, but that's one of the things I thought. I don't want to work actually just to be popular. The channel is for me to learn new stuff. So I want to be aware of a lot of new stuffs and improve also my general knowledge. So I've published one of my recent videos was about beards in antiquity because the Romans, while they were under the Republic, cultivated no beards. So they wanted to show a clean-shaved face because that was very hard at that moment. They didn't have razors as we did. So it was actually really hard and very costly thing to be shaved closely to the skin. And they didn't have any good shaving tools because all the stuff they had, they would not be sharp very long if you start shaving. So it was very hard under the Republic. But then there came the emperors, who like Marcus Aurelius and others, who were more philosophically intended. They had more philosophical inclinations. And they, because of that, want to show a beard. How do you call it? In clothing, when you change all the time your clothing. The French word is une mode. It's like a trend in clothing. Anyways, is it really important to know that under the Republic, very close shaved and at the end they cultivated a long beard? Is that really important to know? No. But for me, it's interesting. For me, general knowledge is interesting. Because those ideas, if my brain doesn't forget them, I can use them in the future. It enriches me. When I was in school, I actually hated always academia because I don't think it's any good. I like something that is human and real and something also where I don't get the impression that I just waste my time and learn stuff that is not good for me, that brings me no closer to my goal. At least with the YouTube channel, I can hope that at the end of the year, I have enough views to get monetized. But when I'm in a school system, what can I hope for? That I will be a dentist, a veterinarian, all those kind of stuff, or an architect, it doesn't interest me. So it's very hard to work for something that when you're not interested at all. But what I liked about it, actually, and at the time there was no YouTube, so I had no choice. But what I liked is that until you go to university, there's still an aspect called general knowledge. So you learn stuff about chemistry and molecules. Well, you don't really need that stuff, but still it gives you something, it still satisfies your inherently. Because I think every human is really curious. We are really curious stuff. We always want to learn new stuff. In the past, people were talking, or he did that, or that happened to them, and they gossiped a lot. And nowadays, you just can learn an infinite amount of stuff. And that YouTube channel allows me to learn an infinite amount of stuff about string theory, gravity, space exploration, a lot of ideas. And I like to be confronted with new ideas and new stuff. I'm just a curious person. So nowadays, I can do it. But our education system, until you go to university, it is quite open because you do so much stuff. Geography, history, biology, chemistry, physics. You do so much stuff that you get new knowledge. They show you stuff you never saw before. And that's interesting. I don't like how academia is made or what its goals are and all that stuff. But getting exposed to new stuff is interesting to me. So that's the good thing I can say about it. I still hated it a lot, but that's the good thing I can say about it. What is your reply on that subject?
Yeah, I agree. And there are successful YouTube channels that are not on one topic, right? So I think it doesn't have to be just, I think it's fine that you change topic.
Actually, I'm not sure about that. Most channels don't do what I do. I'm so broad. Everything that I find of interest in or that I'm questioning myself, I will create a video about it. Because yes, it's work, but it's not an immense amount of work. Especially since I don't have to show my face and AI does a lot of the heavy lifting. So yeah, but all YouTube channels that I know of, or most of them, I think there's no exception, they actually did find a niche. So there's people who only talk about artificial intelligence. And then there are people who only talk about the markets in one way. And then there are people who only talk about history, like antiquity. And then there are channels who only talk about prehistorical humans, the Ice Age and so on. But they have one niche and they only produce stuff about the same subject again and again. But this I find boring because you soon talked about everything that there is to talk about. And then it gets very annoying. And also, I don't want to always get bombarded with stuff about cavemans, you know? I find it interesting from time to time to look at, for example, I published one video about how they survived their very harsh winters because there was an ice age and they still managed to survive. And that's quite hard, especially if you only live in very small groups. And the video said that the cooperation was much higher than what we actually thought of. And that was interesting to me. And the subject I actually wanted to go more in deep is that cooperation that went far beyond what we thought, actually, but they still didn't use any money. So everything was just barter at that time. And still they were extremely cooperative and they managed to show a lot of art in clothing and so on and survive the hardest condition imaginable. So that was interesting to me. It's just, for me, I like to open my mind and I think a human is very curious. Why do people spend all day in front of a TV? It's because they want to learn new stuff. Unfortunately, TV is only full of propaganda and that's why it dulls you down. And the analysis are very bad because it's always the lowest denominator. So they always assume that you're not very smart, and if they go into too much details, then you won't understand. So there's never a real analysis. There's never some critical thinking. There's nothing groundbreaking, just the same stuff over and over. But why humans sit down? It's because it's easy. One of the things, it's the easiest thing to do. It's much harder. I will go running, for example, when we finish. I go for a run. But that takes some mental fortitude. I have to put the effort in it. And it's not always nice to go running. You want to be lazy and just sit on your butt or enjoy life. So you have to do a real effort. And also, I bought my exoskeleton since we talk about running, but it broke down. And now I have to send it back. And as soon as I send it back, they sent me a new one. But they want a lot of documents with it. And I'm still not sure that I have all the documents. So I had to write a lot of emails. So you get into annoying stuff because I didn't want to write 20 emails just because my exoskeleton stopped working. But I have to do it. And the thing is, I can run without an exoskeleton, but I find it more enjoyable when I have the exoskeleton. The greatest difference to me, it's my breath, my stamina. With the exoskeleton, my breath and my stamina gets less used. But for my legs, it's the same effort or even more. That makes little sense. But I mean, when you go running with an exoskeleton, the human body always anticipates what happens. And if you use the exoskeleton for a long period of time, you start walking like a robot because your body acts as if it is assisted. Because actually, if every time you take a step, your foot is pulled in front with the exoskeleton, your body will know that happens and it will do it before the exoskeleton actually has time to do it. It's a very strange thing. I don't know if you ever did fire a gun. Did you ever do that in your life?
I think so, yes.
How many bullets did you fire?
A few, I guess. What do you mean?
I just want to know if you did fire 1, 5, 10, 50, 500 bullets, just to get an idea, because what I'm trying to tell you depends on how much you did it. That's why I'm asking.
Maybe 10.
Okay, that's not actually enough. But you would have done it, but you would have not noticed it. There's recall. When you fire a gun, there's recall. And we anticipate that recall. And that's really bad. When you want to hit the target, you cannot anticipate that recall. You have to let it happen and not put pressure against it. Because if you do, well, every time you anticipate, your gun drops, because you anticipate the recall and you go in front. And if you do that, you're out of target. So you have to wait for the gun to do it, and you just have to let it happen and oppose nothing. But you see, just because you know that a recall will happen, you will anticipate it. And only very good Olympic guys who shoot a lot and are world champions manage to not anticipate the recall, but you always anticipate. And it's the same with an exoskeleton. If the exoskeleton does something for your body, well, you learn that it does it every time, and then you anticipate. And for me, when the exoskeleton broke down, the first couple of times when I went running, it was still like if I had the exoskeleton. But now that I'm running without it for more than a couple of weeks, I have lost that. And I'm still back to normal again. Does it make any sense? Or do you get the idea?
Yeah, I didn't think about that before. And good that you've been keeping your habit up even after it broke down. I think that's good on the road to do.
Yeah. Okay, Norman, we talked along. So if you have any final thoughts to close out, give them to me. And if not, thanks a lot. And I'm looking forward to see you next week.
Just wishing you good luck with your YouTube channel. And
don't worry about it. It's just that there are not a lot of channels with 2.5 or 2.6K videos online. Look at how much they have produced. They didn't produce that much, And I produced such a huge quantity. And yes, my numbers are not bad. I mean, 960, that's a lot. But also the time and the effort I have to do to get it is such immense. But it doesn't matter. It would be nice if it makes something and it's not, if there's a financial feedback, if it's not totally free. But it doesn't matter. The good thing is also I can do some ads for my book on it. And that's also great. Then people know that the book exists. And out of 960 guys who follow me, maybe 5 or 10 buy my book. So that's also not nothing. It's a way of getting exposure to the public. Thanks, Norman. Take care. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.